Okay, so that's the STAM. Okay, here we are on the dollar. All right, here we are. Dollar profile, Aussie on the daily, Euro on the daily, Cable on the daily, Swissy on the daily, Kiwi on the daily, CAD on the daily, dollar yen. All right. So bang, we can see, really bang. Aussie weakness for the most part over the last week. Kiwi weakness for the most part over the last week. Canadian weakness over the most part for the last week. Euro weakness for the most part. All right. Same as sterling. Same with Swissy. Okay. And it had been also with yen, but as I said, I think yen's changing. We're going to have to watch that. And then what I've got here is basically the monthly on dollar index. So let's clear them down. Let's have a look at let's start with dollar index on the monthly. So the important thing is that, if we look at last month's monthly candle, that is a big candle. And it is, what candle is that? That is a bullish engulfing candle. That is a bullish key reversal candle. We pushed to lows, closed, above the high of the previous candle. We didn't close above 100. We tapped that. All right. We go down to the weekly chart. We did tap it. All right. And then we came back, and that was the kind of, if we go into the daily, boom. For those of you who've been joining us and watching us for the last few weeks, I talked about this being an inverse head and shoulders. All right, with that as the neckline. We broke it. We went up. We tapped that 100, didn't we? We tapped 100 and came right back down off it. That was their NFP day on Friday. When those numbers were released, basically the world shit the bed. All right, and that's why we got that move. But then, I think I said yesterday, what I was interested to see is if we got follow through. I would suggest so far we haven't. Now, of course, the kind of big American formal news of the week is the ISM Services PMI, all right, which is at 3 o'clock this afternoon, in about 2 hours' time. If that number is poor, well, then, then here we go. If that number is poor, it would not surprise me if we drifted down into the region of the sort of 50 period moving average. But if I look down at the 4 hour chart, the 4 hour chart, we've drifted to the 50. And then what did we print this morning? We printed, overnight into this morning. That is a bullish key reversal, engulfing candle, pull back to the 50. That is a bit of dollar strength. And that's actually what we've seen this morning. If those of you who kind of engage on a sort of morning intraday basis, VTP Stage 3, that's what we've done. And if you look here, this morning's candle, all right, that's sort of on the daily, or yesterday's, that's bearish, all right, okay. Cable bearish, bullish for dollar Swiss franc, which is what you'd expect, but bearish for dollar yen and stuff, right? So it's there is clearly some moves yesterday that maybe we'll see following through today. All right, that's what we'll be looking for there on the dollar.